There's a used pitch about 20 minutes from me, and right at the back, in the row nobody photographs, sit 4 or 5 honest SUVs with a bit of that grey film on the bonnet that only settles on a motor that's been stood a while. Clean cars, sensible cars, and nobody's touching them. Meanwhile, out front, under the flags, a family is about to sign away 400 quid a month on something brand new that'll be worth half of nothing in 3 years. And here's the bit that winds me up. The cars at the back, the ones nobody wants, are the exact same cars that'll still be starting first turn on a cold February morning long after the shiny stuff out front is sat in a workshop with a bill on the bonnet worth more than the car. That's not my opinion. That's 42 years of watching what actually comes back through a service department and what doesn't. So today I'm giving you 5 dirt cheap SUVs that nobody in Britain is buying right now, and every single one of them will outlast the brand new motor sitting next to it on the forecourt. We're counting down to number 1, and number 1 is the one I'd hand my own daughter the keys to tonight and not lose a wink of sleep. And stay with me to the end, because there's one question you can ask on a forecourt that most people never think to, and it's the difference between the best buy you'll ever make and the most expensive mistake of your life. Same car, same price, 2 completely different outcomes. I'll give it to you before we finish. Now, a word so you know exactly who's talking. I'm Reg Halliwell. I'm 68, and I spent most of my working life as a service manager at a big main dealer in the Midlands, which means I sat on the side of the counter where the cars came back. I saw which ones came in for a bulb and a wiper, and which ones came in on the back of a truck with the owner's face like a wet weekend. That's the only qualification that matters here. I don't sell cars. No manufacturer pays me a penny. I've got no badge loyalty, and nobody's buying me lunch to say nice things about anybody. So do me one favor before we start. Hit subscribe. It's free, and it's exactly the sort of thing that stops a mate signing for something daft on a Saturday morning. Right, let's get into it. Number 5. The older Honda CR-V, and I mean the earlier shape before they got clever with the styling. Everybody's forgotten these, and that forgetting is your bargain. Now, credit where it's due first, because it's earned. The petrol engine in these, that 2-litre, is about as close to unkillable as anything I've ever had over a pit. I've seen them sail past 180,000 miles, still pulling clean, still quiet, still owing nobody a thing. Honda built the thing to a standard the accountants would never allow today. The honest caveat, and I'll not dress it up. It's about as exciting as a wet Tuesday. The interior is grey, the plastics are sensible, and it will bore the life out of anyone under 30. And it's no proper mud plugger, so don't go dragging a loaded horsebox up a field and then write to me disappointed. The one thing to actually watch is the rear diff on the 4-wheel drive ones if it's been neglected, and that's a fluid change most people skipped. Get one with history that shows it done, and you're laughing. So here's the honest bit. This isn't a car you fall in love with. It's a car you rely on. For the school run, the shopping, the motorway slog to see the grandkids, it simply goes and goes. For anyone who just wants to stop thinking about their car, you can pick a tidy one up for less than the deposit on something new. Buy on the service history, not on the shine. Number 4. The Lexus RX, the Hybrid, the 400 or 450h. Now, the second I say Lexus, half of you have gone, oh, that's out of my league, Reg. Buying one new, yes. Buying a 10-year-old one, absolutely not. These have dropped like a stone, and that fall is the whole opportunity, because underneath that posh badge is Toyota. Same engineering, same discipline, same refusal to cut a corner. And that hybrid system has a reputation in the trade for going on, with next to nothing going wrong, because Toyota have been building it longer than anyone alive. The honest caveat. On a long, fast motorway run, the fuel figure is nothing to write home about. So if you live on the M6 doing 300 miles a day, know that going in. And the tires aren't the cheapest, because it's a big, heavy, capable thing. But here's what you're actually buying. A luxury car that was designed from the first bolt to do 250,000 miles in quiet comfort. Let some other poor soul take the enormous depreciation hit in the first 5 years. You come along afterwards and take the car. For anybody who wants to feel a bit spoiled without the running costs of a German rival, this is the smart money, and almost nobody's cottoned on. Number 3. The Suzuki Grand Vitara. This is the one the clever people buy and then keep very quiet about down the pub. It's a proper old-school 4x4 with a proper separate chassis underneath it, not a soft crossover doing an impression of one. Simple, tough, and dead easy to get the spanners on, which means that on the rare day something does let go, it's cheap and quick to put right. That matters more than people realize. Now the honest caveat. It'll drink a bit more fuel than a modern crossover, there's no getting round the physics of it, and the ride is firm because it's built like a tool, not a sofa. Some of the earlier ones can go through front suspension bushes, but you're talking a cheap job, an afternoon and not much money. Here's the honest bit. This is the car that'll genuinely haul you up a Snowdon lane in the middle of winter when the crossovers are all sat sideways in a hedge. And it'll still be worth decent money in 10 years because they simply don't make them like this anymore. They're cheap purely because they're unfashionable. And unfashionable and unbreakable is precisely what you want when it's your own hard-earned money going in. Now, quick favor before we get into the top 2, because that's where the real gold is. If any of this is useful to you, give the like button a tap. It costs you nothing, and it puts this video in front of somebody's mum or dad who's about to get talked into the wrong car this very weekend. Cheers. Right. Number 2. The Skoda Yeti. Ask almost any mechanic what they quietly put their own family into, and this daft little name comes up again and again. It's got sensible Volkswagen Group mechanicals underneath. It's the perfect size for real life, and that boxy, upright shape means the inside is far, far bigger than it has any right to be. And here's the tell that matters. The people who own these do not sell them. They cling on. When a car almost never appears on the used market, that tells you everything the sales charts can't. The honest caveat. You want to steer towards the simpler, proven petrol engines and away from any that have been thrashed and never serviced. So history is everything here, more than on anything else on this list. Get a cared-for one, though, and here's the honest bit. It does absolutely everything a normal family actually needs, day in, day out, and asks for almost nothing in return. It's not glamorous, and it never was. It's just quietly right. For the family that wants one car that does the lot without any drama, this is about as safe as a used buy gets. Right, number 1. And if you've stuck with me this far, do me a favor and subscribe before I say it, because number 1 is the one nobody sees coming, even though it's staring us all in the face. It's the one I'd put my own daughter in tomorrow. The older Toyota RAV4. Now I know, everybody says Toyota, Reg. That's not exactly a hot tip. They say it because it is simply, boringly true. This is the SUV the entire trade uses as the yardstick for what the word reliable actually means. The engines are simple, they are strong, and they do not let you down on a wet night with the kids asleep in the back. And that, when you strip away all the marketing, is the entire job of a car, and it's the one thing most people forget to buy. The honest caveat. It's plain inside, the technology is basic by today's standards, and it will not turn a single head in the Waitrose car park. Good. Turning heads in the car park is exactly what got half the country into 400 quid a month in the first place. And here's the honest bit, the one I'll finish the list on. Buy the boring one. Buy the one that starts every single morning without fuss, that any garage in the land can fix, that'll still be going when the finance on the new stuff is long gone. For anybody who's done with worrying about their car, that's the RAV4, and it's why it's number 1. So, before I let you get on, let me answer the thing you're all thinking. If these are so good, why is nobody buying them? And the answer isn't the cars. It's the machine. Every single person in the chain, the dealer, the salesman, the finance company, the manufacturer, gets paid the most when you buy the newest, most expensive thing on a long agreement. Nobody in that building makes a penny steering you towards a 10-year-old Honda that'll last you another decade. So they don't. The whole system is quietly built to walk you right past the back row. Which brings me to the question I promised you. When you're stood on a forecourt, about to sign, ask one thing out loud and watch the face. Ask, if this exact model stopped being made tomorrow, could I still get parts and get it serviced cheaply in 10 years? For every car on this list, the answer is a flat yes. For a lot of the shiny new stuff out front, the honest answer is a very awkward pause. That pause is worth thousands of pounds to you. That's the whole game. And before you buy any used SUV, 3 quick checks that cost you nothing and save you a fortune. 1. Get underneath it, or get somebody to, and look for fresh under seal or a suspiciously clean patch, because that's often a car hiding rot, not a car that's been cared for. 2. Cold start it yourself, first thing, engine stone cold, and listen for the first 10 seconds. A healthy engine settles down quick. A poorly one rattles and smokes and tells on itself. 3, and this is the big one, forget the shine and read the service history like it's a story. Regular oil changes with stamps and receipts beat a shiny bonnet every single day of the week. You don't need me, and you don't need a scan tool. You need daylight and your own 2 eyes. Quick run back then. 5. The old Honda CR-V, dull as ditch water, tough as old boots. 4. The Lexus RX Hybrid, luxury for banger money if you don't live on the motorway. 3. The Suzuki Grand Vitara, a proper tool that'll never let winter beat you. 2. The Skoda Yeti, the one the mechanics keep for themselves. And 1. The Toyota RAV4, the boring, brilliant benchmark that just refuses to die. Here's the thing underneath all 5 of them. A car is one of the biggest things you'll ever buy, and we've let the whole conversation shrink down to how new it looks on the driveway on day 1. But you don't live on day 1. You live in year 6, when it's cold and it's dark and the kids are in the back, and you just need the thing to start and get everyone home. Every car on this list will do that, for a fraction of what the new stuff costs, and they'll do it for years. That's not being tight. That's being clever with money that took you a long time to earn. Now do 2 things for me before you go. Tell me down in the comments, what's the best cheap motor you've ever owned? The one that just flat refused to die on you. And if you own one of these 5 right now, I especially want to hear how it's actually treated you, the good and the bad, because the folk who own them know things the sales charts never will. I read every single reply, including the ones telling me I've got it wrong, and if I have, I'll say so in the next one. I'd rather be corrected than wrong. And if this saved you even a bit of grief, hit like and subscribe to Great British Vehicles. No sponsors, no press cars, no being nice to a badge because somebody sent me a lanyard and a sandwich. Just what the trade actually knows and what it means for your money. Look after yourselves, look after your motors, and remember, buy with your head, not the badge. I'll see you in the next one.